Country 5 Yappin'.
Friday nights at 10 for this week's hottest country chart busters.
Only on 94.3 FM, WXMR, Marengo Community Radio.
Hey, it's Raphael. Join me at 8 p.m. every Friday night for my show, The Lesser Heard. What is The Lesser Heard, you ask? It's an alternative rock deep cut show. Lesser heard songs by popular artists, songs by lesser heard artists, and how about lesser heard formats? I'll spin some vinyl cuts for you out of my personal collection. So join me every Friday night at 8 p.m., only right here on WXMR 94.3 LPFM, Marengo Community Radio. Lesser heard. Word.
It's 9:30.
A new concept, new revolutionary ideas.
40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. Radio. Marengo Community Radio.
And we're back.
We are back.
You're listening to Marengo Man Cave on Marengo Community Radio, WXMR 94.3. I'm your host, Eric, here with my co-host, Matthew.
Morning.
You still feeling mostly sunny?
Mostly sunny, and I'm excited for next weekend. We got that Marengo Music Festival. That's August 15th.
Yeah?
Next year, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., live music. Got the car shows going on. I got the show and shine. Pretty ecstatic about that. And I think the Chamber of Commerce is hosting that and putting that on. Right here out on Franks Road, just east of the high school.
Yeah, and I have heard that the radio
The Lesser
station...
Heard? You've heard the Lesser Heard?
No. Wow, good reference there. I heard that we're going to be involved, so hopefully the radio station can be broadcasting during that time, and I'm going to try to make it out there. So if you once again, just like the Faith and Family Day, I'll have my Sharpie, signing autographs. Right?
No, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean,
it is.
It's really what the community radio is about, is getting involved with the other community events and putting that on. So I just want to remind everybody again, that's the Music Festival, the Marengo Music Festival, next Saturday, from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Great. And support for Marengo Community Radio does come from Marengo Union Chamber of Commerce, a guiding force for the business community in southwest McHenry County since 1970. You can reach them at marengo-union.com. Their offices are at 116 South State Street, 568-6680.
Awesome. So we were talking about this testing.
Yes, I was anxious over the break to hear you were saying that you wanted to have like a quiz.
Yes.
And we'll be football specific, but we can make versions for any sport.
Correct.
Right? So softball, baseball.
It is football season.
Right. So you wanted to have a quiz that a fan had to pass before they could say anything critical.
Correct. So if you can't, like, just to throw out an example, how many times has all these football meatheads out there in the world heard the three technique?
Right.
And they think they can describe that. But if you really don't know what the three technique is, and if you can't describe in detail correctly what the three technique is and what it's about and what it does, you shouldn't be allowed to be critical of the high school coach. Flat out.
Okay.
That's number one.
So that's just basic knowledge of positions. So expanding that beyond just that one example. You could have
I want it specifically to that one.
Okay, what else?
Just a general, the guy is like running a counter. If you don't understand the difference between running an offensive counter and when it should be ran versus, open up a game in a series with an offensive, you don't run two plays and then run a counter play, Yeah. Those type of things.
Right, so some strategic questions.
Strategic questions that are real general, real basic,
Right.
I don't think everybody needs to be. Now, you don't have to know football to come to the game. That's not what we're saying or what we're even suggested. I'm just saying, don't be up there screaming and yelling and being the armchair coach up in the stands, belittling the coach, whoever he or she is, unless, you're trying to be positive at the high school level, at the youth level, right?
Right. You should be positive, supporting the team.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't disagree. By all means, disagree. That's some of the fun. But I just think up in the stands around everybody, you don't need to be booming the big meathead voice. When you can't even answer some of these. Because as you and I know, most coaches are the majority, especially I'll say when you get to the high school varsity levels of any sport, they're most of them by far are pretty well versed in the sport. You don't get to that level. Now the freshman, sophomore, maybe a couple assistants are new kids out of college, that played the sport or something like that, and they get involved. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I just would love to see everybody be a little more positive about and if you can't answer.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to my statement from the first half of the show. I felt like our professional sport level fandom has become being critics and analysts and GMs and and to a point where that's transferring down, and we're losing the fact that these are little kids. Be supportive, and
you can't go on Facebook. There should be an app on Facebook or Twitter or any of the social media sites that you can't give your friends that are fans of the rival team a hard time unless you can answer a few general sports quizzes about your team and about the sport.
So you're sort of the whole freedom of speech thing. You're not really for that. You're saying limited it based on.
I'm just tired of the meatheads.
Yeah,
come on, everybody's out there listening, going. They're so tired of getting.
Years ago, I had worked here in town. I was a sophomore football coach, and at the time was talking with the varsity coach, and this sort of topic came up because I was scouting a game once, or maybe it was even the year after I stopped coaching. I was in the stands for once, and there had been 7 offensive plays by our team. It's the opening drive of the game.
Sure.
And there were, 4 runs and 3 passes. Okay.
Oh, did somebody yell to be more balanced?
Yeah, you got to mix it up, coach. And I looked over and all I could think was, well, that was a receiver's dad, because 3 is less than 4, right? It's not the running back's dad, right? And so I suggested maybe this could be an advanced setting. I told the head coach that we're going to actually equip all of our fans in the stands with a controller.
Okay. And
so on the controller will be buttons, and so you want them, run up the middle,
like the old game
run
shows.
Wide right. Yeah, you could select your preference, right? So you think the coach should run to the left. I think the coach should throw a deep pass down the middle. So we can select those, and then we also have a number pad. So if you wanted to give it to a kid, you'd say, "Oh, give it to 24."
Okay.
So if you want to even specify a number, so that way, of course, your kid
put it in control of the meathead.
So you got the controller, and then the coach would just have an iPad that shows the statistics, and the overwhelming majority wants him to throw a pass down the middle. So therefore, that's what they're going to do, and the highest vote was for number 24. However, if anywhere on the field their kid in that play does not execute properly, they make a mistake.
Okay.
Are
we allowed to single out?
It buzzes
children?
the dad. Yeah, it just buzzes the dad who's the controller and disables their controller for 3 plays.
Nice. How do we get this?
Right. So that you can give the feedback, and it's all in jest, people. But the facts are that in most cases.
But don't you think we should have the ticker tower like they have at Indianapolis that shows where everybody? You should then be the parent, and your player's son should be listed, his number, and how many wrong answers you've gotten.
Right, how many wrong answers? No. But it was just the idea that we get fed up. We get focused on strategy and play calling and coaches' decisions when you and I know that the majority of plays work or don't work based off of the execution and the actions of the kids. And on every play, maybe not every, on most plays at the high school level especially, but even true at higher levels, somebody doesn't execute or do the right thing.
Yeah, you just sucked all the fun out of it.
I didn't.
Yeah, because you're right, but you sucked all the fun.
Right, well,
I was more irritated, because as a Sox fan, if I'm at the local youth football combine wearing my Sox visor, and I got to listen to all these Cubs parents coming up to me going boo and stuff like that.
Right.
And my approach has just been, can you even name 100% of the roster of the Chicago Cubs right now? Oh, you can't? Okay, go away. You can't give me a hard time about the White Sox if you can't name your players.
Right.
Go away.
So you can't be a fan of a team just to give fans of the other team the hard time when you don't.
You can be a fan of the team. Watch, you don't have to know the players, but then don't go over there and start telling someone that they're horrible. That their team is horrible, and you can't even name your own.
Okay, so if anybody out there is a counselor, it sounds like Matthew could use a little support. He's got a little anger management issue. And it could be, I don't know, maybe just because
Thanks for being kind and saying little.
Your example of the White Sox versus Cubs this year must be a little rough for the Sox fans versus the Cubs, because the Cubs are winning, which has not been like normal. So usually those.
But as you know,
fans
I'm
are
not
quiet.
anti-Cub.
No,
I'm
meathead
fan
Right.
who just starts babbling stuff that's like, what are you talking about? So how do we market the system to the high schools? Because I love your idea of that. Put it in the fans. Let's see how they do versus the head coach. How do we do that? You got backing for this? Do we need investors?
No, I just
We got a technology store next to the villain
technology
store now.
that we can do that. We can hook up.
A sports
High-quality.
technology store.
Yeah, no, because I was at a soccer game last year, and it was a similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, there was a fan that was, upset with the outcome or the activity. We were losing, so he was one of our fans, and he criticized. First he was yelling. He yelled at our players. So his son was doing something, but he actually yelled at the others that they needed to help his son, and it really got me irritated. Because it was like, no, you say what you want to your own kid, but other than that, you cheer on
everybody else.
You got to be positive and supportive.
Sure.
I mean, it's not helping to be negative, and so it really gets me. I need the same counselor because I get irritated just as well and need to walk down to the end. I rarely sit in bleachers at sporting events, just
because of the meathead talk.
Right. And I don't personally blame anybody. Like I said, I think it's a product of that, because I would say we don't get controversial or political on the Marengo Community Radio. I think this is a parallel to news. There's 24-hour news channels, so you got to fill it with opinions.
Sure, yeah.
Where it used to be the opinion. I remember growing up, the editorial, which was someone's opinion, was the last segment before
the news
was over.
Right.
And so the rest was just reporting things that happened. And so I would be all in favor of sports, weather, information being projected that way, and keep your opinions to yourself. Let me make mine. But that's just
and I'm not one that sits in my
there
local.
Goes the fun. What happened to the fun?
And you know me, I sit in the high school. I don't always agree with the high school coaches that I'm sitting and watching, but I certainly understand the dilemma that they're facing and the execution and the thought process and the time that they give.
Right. I mean, because in any one situation, right, football is a good example where you call a play as a coach. Here's a situation. You could call. There's more than one right answer.
Oh, yeah. That's what people don't,
Right. And so you wish he did one thing, but he does a different. That doesn't mean it's a wrong answer. It would be almost interesting to see people's reactions before the play. Because it's after the play happens, it's real easy to say, well, that was a bad idea.
Right.
No, it wasn't a bad idea. It was a great idea. It just didn't work.
Right. And then sometimes it'd be different if the defense and me being an offensive coach, if the defense got the set up and they had to lock in to what they were doing,
right,
and then I got the call,
right,
yeah, then you want to be more critical because I can't recognize what, whether they're in a man or a zone or a cover two or, they're in a blitz. Right. I get it then, but I'm guessing at what they're going to do, what the defensive coordinator is going to do, and then it's a little chess match, and then on top of that, after the coaches make their opinions on defense, known, or they pick their defensive set, now you got 11 variables. Are those kids going to go where they actually are supposed to go as designed?
Right. Yeah, because the way you draw it up on the board,
it's always perfect.
It always works. And the defensive guy draws it up on the board, and he always can stop every play.
Right.
And so it all comes down to the kids. And the kids are going to execute better with confidence.
So you don't like the quiz idea, though, somehow? How can we pull that off? You used to work with schools.
Yeah,
can we
pull
do
that
a
off
survey
somehow?
tool
And give special, designated.
So maybe I'm approaching this wrong. See, I think this is what needs to be talked about. Like if your kid enters a sport, maybe the principal or the staff has to stand up in front of all the parents and say, hey, I'm going to throw this really far-fetched idea out there at you as a, per example, idea of what everybody's facing. Can you keep this in mind when you're sitting in the stands watching, the local kids play?
Yeah, but I think that some of those conversations do happen, maybe not as creatively as you mentioned with a quiz, but it doesn't change anything. In the heat of the moment,
I know, because I'm guilty of it myself.
Why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? And I think, realistically, to give credit to those fans, and you and I can be that way as well. I'm sure there's people out there listening that know us that are saying, hey, wait a second, you were doing the same thing. You know, like you get caught up into that guilty. Well,